Welcome to your NEWSMAX Daily for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, or 10/22/24, the fourth of 5 Tuesdays this month, and National Nut Day, celebrating the many health benefits of the many, many different kinds of nuts that are available. And who doesn't love some nuts, right? We are now 2 weeks away from Election Day. Millions of Americans have already voted early, with the numbers setting records in many areas of the country. Vice President Harris and former President Trump campaigning at a fever pitch. And I'm going to start with the vice president, who still 2 weeks ahead of the election doesn't want to take questions from the people that she wants to vote for her.
So sit back, be comfortable. You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
That's former California First Lady Maria Shriver hosting a Kamala Harris town hall in Michigan on Monday. And what you couldn't hear there was a member of the audience ask if she will be able to ask the vice president a question. I mean, it's a town hall after all. And Shriver says, "You're not, unfortunately, but we do have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I can ask some of the questions that you may have in your head." Isn't the whole point of a town hall for the people there to ask questions? And this is some of what the vice president had to say in her conversation and laugh fest with Shriver and Liz Cheney.
Do we want a president of the United States who spends full time plotting revenge while they sit in the Oval Office? Or a president who is actually focused on the American people?
So the most obvious question right there would have been, why haven't you been focused on the American people for the last 3 3/4 years? But I don't think Shriver asked that one.
I'm very pleased that our administration today announced a rule that would essentially allow folks to get contraception over the counter. And as we know, my policy is about making sure that Americans have what they need in terms of their reproductive health. And Donald Trump, you just look at his his Project 2025, would actually restrict access to contraception.
Still pushing the false Project 2025 narrative. The mainstream media makes a point of saying Donald Trump making the false claims about FEMA on every single Donald Trump story where he talks about the hurricanes. But they don't ever say that Harris is still pushing the false claims of Project 2025. Meanwhile, the former president did visit parts of North Carolina yesterday that were ravaged by the hurricane.
The power of nature. Nothing you can do about it, but you got to get a little bit better crew in to do a better job than has been done by the White House. It's been not good. On January 20th, you're going to have, I think, a new crew coming in to do it properly and help you in a proper manner. My faith took on new meaning on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, where I was knocked to the ground, essentially, by what seemed like a supernatural hand. And I would like to think that God saved me for a purpose, and that's to make our country greater than ever before.
First time in a while that he's recounted the assassination attempt back in July. He also spoke to students at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, home of the Pirates.
I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are. And I'd like to begin by asking a question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I don't think so. I don't think so. Not even close. That's a big question. Think about that, right? We have to get out and vote. I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote in this election, I will end inflation, I will stop the invasion, and I will bring back the American dream. Our country is being crippled and destroyed by Kamala Harris. Kamala. How the hell did that ever happen? How did that ever happen? The guy had 14 million votes. I'm no fan of his, by the way. But he had 14 million votes. She had none. She was the first to lose. 22 people. She was the first out. She never made it. to the great state of Iowa. Never made it. And, well, you know, they talk about it. She is a threat to democracy. I mean, that's really, she's a threat to a lot of things, but that's the way it has to be, because we're winning by a lot. We're leading by a lot. We're leading in the polls. Every single state looks like we're doing really well. And with your support on November 5th, America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. This election is a choice between whether we will have think of this, 4 more years. Like, could you stand it? It's 4 more years of incompetence, and stupidity, and failure and disaster, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. I think we have a real chance. And we were set back. And then you think about what they've done, because I happen to think the border is the biggest problem we have, not inflation. Inflation's terrible. It's a country buster. And the economy, all those things. But I happen to think that what they've done at the border to our country by letting millions and millions of people in, totally unchecked and unvetted, I think it's the worst thing, including murderers, drug dealers, people from prison. They opened up their prisons of the world into our country. I think it's the worst thing anyone's ever heard. And a lot of terrorists are coming in, record numbers of terrorists. Nothing good can happen. Nothing good can happen. After all the catastrophe she has caused, Kamala Harris can't say one thing that she'd do differently from Sleepy Joe Biden. Not one thing.
Donald Trump speaking at ECU in Greenville, North Carolina yesterday, not to be confused with Greenville, South Carolina. Eric Trump, the son of the former president, is on the trail with his father and spoke with our Carl Higbie.
Eric Trump, EVP of the Trump Organization. My man, what you guys are doing is incredible. Your dad's out there at McDonald's, the most resonating guy with normal people, yet he's a billionaire in a business suit.
Carl, he's the best. And I'm literally doing this interview from a car because we're driving all over the place. I'm in North Carolina right now. We just came out of Florida. We're going to be in Michigan. I'm going to be in Nevada. I'm going to be in Arizona. I'm going to be in California. I'm literally going to be in every state in the country because that's how much it means to this race. But now, as a family, we're out there. We're working our butts off. And, you know, I've never felt as much love. I mean, I literally just came out of a plane, and every single person is coming up to me, hugging me. You know, we love your father. We love your family. You know, thank you for what you do for this country. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's such an incredible honor.
Yeah, it really is. Well, you know, Eric, you and I have pulled the trigger a few times together, and you know, I've seen you shoot. You are probably one of the best shotgun shots I've ever seen. I've beaten you one time, which I will rub in your face every chance I get. However, you're consistently a 25 on skeet. Tim Walz thinks he's a better shot than you. Roll this.
Both you and Vice President Harris have leaned into your gun ownership. She's got a Glock, and she says that she's not afraid to use it on intruders. Okay, so you're out hunting pheasants.
Yep.
Is that enough to convince people there's a middle ground on this issue? Because right now, right-wingers are coming after you for how you handled your shotgun.
Well, I can shoot better than all of them. I got the trophies to prove it.
Care to wager on that one, Eric?
Yeah, I'll put a wager anytime, any place. You know, listen, you know, I love hunters in this country. And if there's a Democratic hunter in this country, fantastic. If there's a Republican hunter in this country, you know, wonderful. But don't be two-faced about, you know, your support for guns or lack thereof. And don't try and go out in fields when you're losing the masculine vote to try and beat somebody that you're not, Carl, right? I think that's what bothers me, you know, about what Tim did, right? He claims he's a great hunter. Seemed like he was having an awful hard time loading his gun, which is, you know, when I first saw him, and I can spot this stuff from a mile away, it didn't exactly look like he was, you know, the great white hunter. But, you know, listen, you know, again, forget about that. I love that. I applaud anybody who likes the outdoors, but you know, when you've made it a consistent message of your campaign for years and years and years to take people's guns away from them, to limit their Second Amendment rights, to limit their constitutional rights, When you've made it your priority to put tampons in boys' bathrooms, listen, appealing to the masculine votes is probably going to be a pretty hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. Look, you're in North Carolina right now. You're going to a faith event. Kamala Harris comes out and basically tells some people that say Jesus is king that they're at the wrong rally. I mean, how is that received in most of America?
It's received terribly. It's received terribly. Listen, we're a nation that was founded on God, clearly. And there's been there's been an awful war on religion in this country, and you know that better than anybody. I mean, they want to take under God out of our Pledge of Allegiance. They want to take they want to take God off of our currencies. I mean, there's been a constant attack on the First Amendment in this country, of freedom of speech, freedom of religion. You had Obama that literally, weaponized the IRS to go after Christian organizations and did so absolutely viciously. You had a cognizant effort to get rid of the word Christmas. I mean, they were calling it a holiday tree during the Obama administration. It wasn't until my father came in and said, listen, we're going to call it a Christmas tree because we celebrate Christmas as a nation. But faith is under attack. Families under attack. And what's more important to society, to communities, to, kind of healthy children, to prosperous children, to safe streets than God and religion and the teaching of the commandments and so many other great things, right? And I cannot stand that that's demonized. Who demonizes that in society? Who demonizes any faith in society? We're a religious nation. We should allow people to worship as they see fit.
Eric Trump, Executive VP of the Trump Organization, on Frontline with Newsmax host Carl Higbie. And former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates, author of the book Wicked Game, spoke about both of the campaigns with Bianca De La Garza.
I was very moved at many moments here because this was real and authentic. And a lot of what I saw yesterday in Bucks County and the people's reaction to Donald Trump serving up some French fries, you can't replicate any of this if you don't mean it and if you don't really walk the walk.
Yeah, look, Democrats are really worried. They're worried about Kamala's standing. They're worried about how strong President Trump is closing here in these last couple of weeks of the campaign. And look, this is what he does well. Matt and I both know this. We've traveled with him. We worked with him. I mean, this is where he shines. And when he was in North Carolina, he wasn't focused just on the voting. I mean, he was focused on helping people. He was focused on making sure that their houses, were repaired, that they were surviving. That is more important, as you heard him say, than voting. And so I think when he gets out there and he's with the people and among the people, that's what people want to see. And look, the Democrats, I think, have made a major blunder in these last couple of weeks. And their closing argument is to attack Donald Trump as unstable, unhinged, undemocratic. That's not going to work. That's not a closing argument in a campaign that's effective, that's going to bring voters back to the table. What is going to bring voters around, if there are any decides out there, is being in and around them, is trying to show that you're helping them, trying to show that you care about them. Well,
she has, she thought she had the momentum. She thought she had the joy. The Atlantic puts it this way. Why the heck isn't she running away with this? Heard there was some turmoil. She was really upset, apparently, with some of her staff after one of the events she had. I want to focus just a minute, too, because there were prayers said, and I think the power of prayer is something that means so much to many Americans, including myself. The word she said about you're at the wrong rally when someone shouted out something about Jesus, not going to the Al Smith dinner. We know in Georgia, battleground state, Donald Trump will be there with Jensen Franklin, Ben Carson. The religion, the spiritual aspect of this, I don't think can be underscored. Now, she can go to churches and she can say these things, Matt, but that is something that a lot of people in Middle America, Southeast America that are hurting, they know that their faith is something that gets them through. And I think Kamala Harris, it's a huge, huge Achilles heel for her. What do you think?
Well, if she's speaking to people of faith, I'm not hearing it. I know she has all these little groupies and groups supporting her, including evangelicals and such, but I don't really hear any rhetoric from her. I think she's disdainful towards people of faith. I think she's disdainful towards Catholics. I'm a Catholic. I was offended that she didn't show up at the dinner. She's the last person not to go there since Walter Mondale. She sent a stupid video, and all the reports out of her campaign, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's certainly being reported that it was an actual decision to not go to the Al Smith dinner because they thought it would be offensive to the LGBTQ community, because obviously the cardinal in New York, Cardinal Dolan, is a believing, devout, follow the church policies church leader. And so, I thought that was a really disgusting sliming of Catholic voters, and they shouldn't forget it.
Political commentator and chairman of CPAC, Match Slap on Newsline with Bianca De La Garza. Donald Trump is still in North Carolina. He has a rally scheduled for 7 o'clock tonight in beautiful Greensboro, NC. Tomorrow he has a town hall in Georgia with Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, and I'm going to guess that people will be allowed to ask questions, unlike the Harris town hall in Michigan. And where has J.D. Vance been the last few days? Glad you asked. Vance is making 2 stops today in Arizona. With so much of the focus on North Carolina and Pennsylvania, let's not forget Arizona. 11 electoral college votes. Vance will be in Peoria this afternoon and then later today in Tucson. Vice President Harris continues campaigning with Liz Cheney and is headed back to Pennsylvania tomorrow. Trump's weekend campaign stunt, meanwhile, at the Pennsylvania McDonald's was all the talk on all the networks yesterday, right? And thanks to AI, the memes on social media were incredible, right? The cats eating French fries. Did you see the one where Trump painted over the Mick and the place was just called Donald's? And Elon Musk posted a picture of him and Donald Trump, all jacked up, about to get into a red, white, and blue Tesla. And then former race car driver Danica Patrick responded to Elon's tweet saying, "I'll drive." All right, this is Greg Kelly's take on the whole McDonald's stunt.
At this incredible moment, everything is backwards and upside down. It really is. Meanwhile, Donald Trump campaigns like a candidate of the 21st century, like a millennial. He's mixing it up. He's going places that candidates normally don't go, like McDonald's, like eccentric podcasts, like everywhere. That's kind of what you want to do unless you, someone's promised you something. Someone's going to arrange something for you. This is how you work, like crazy. And people respect, in America, hard work. Donald Trump in Western North Carolina today.
Well, I've gone 52 days without a day off, which all of these people would respect, but they do it the same because they're just like, we're called workers, right? We're workers. For better or worse, we're workers. I don't know if it's the best thing. We didn't have to be. A lot of them didn't have to be. I didn't have to be. I could have been on a beautiful beach, but I'd much rather be right here with you because we're going to turn the country around. Beyond the area, we're going to turn the whole country around.
It really is something to respect, and I wonder if people are noticing that Kamala has been taking it easy. 3.5 months as a campaigner, right? Nobody voted for her. And he is going all over the place and at great risk. And unique places. All right, everybody saw it. This was amazing. It was so perfectly well done. We're going to talk to one of the customers coming up who went through the drive-thru. Kamala boasted about working there, but she didn't seem to actually work there. Couldn't come up with any specifics. Where else has President Trump been lately? The Al Smith dinner, which is not an event without risk. Not everybody in that room was for Trump. Interesting dynamic, and he won. He takes risks and he wins. What else has he been up to? The Steelers game, that was awesome. Probably not too much of a risk there. Just a very smart campaign move. For Kamala, she's got to worry about the booing. And sitting down with The Undertaker and the other guy and Kane, I guess he didn't show up. Just being innovative, different, energetic. Kamala sat down with Liz Cheney. The weekend's over, and she's hanging around with Liz Cheney. Is that going to get her anywhere? Really? Liz Cheney? We've heard this thing, all right? I've been through it a million times. The January 6th thing is a fraud. I don't think you're going to make any points that way. Hey, I'm fine that she's wasting time with Liz Cheney. I'm totally fine with it at this point. Now, I'm also totally fine with this statement from President Trump.
Look at Shifty Schiff and some of the others. Yeah, they are, to me, the enemy from within. I think Nancy Pelosi is an enemy from within. I offered her 10,000 National Guard troop, anything she wanted. No, but she didn't take them. She should have taken them, and you wouldn't have had January 6th as we know it.
So what's the problem? Enemy from within. How can he say something? The enemy from within. How could he say that? Just look around. We have lots of enemies from within. Of course, they did have their, anything he says, it just must be outrageous, right?
Trump's use of the term enemy within is one of the most harrowing things. And this rhetoric, I think, is something that's very much an escalation from Donald Trump.
Calling them the enemy from within. a threat he's now repeated 3 times.
His Hitler talking points about the enemy from within are very real.
Well, what do we call this? What do we call Drag Time Story Hour? If you want to be a drag queen, great. 18 and up, have at it. Have a party. I might even show up. Whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get dressed up. Adults, not with the kids. This is an enemy from within. This country is falling apart. It's rotting, and we're in big trouble.
Greg Kelly is the host of Greg Kelly Reports, 9 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. So get ready. Everything Donald Trump says is going to be even more outrageous now, as Greg mentioned. Everything he does is going to be unhinged or unacceptable. You're going to hear about how Kamala is leading so much in the polls. You're going to hear who said what about Trump, which groups of voters he's losing support from, etc., etc. Stories about voting in your state and in your county. And you may remember when Kamala became the nominee, I said, if you think the media was covering for Joe, you ain't seen nothing yet. And after all this madness and insanity, you ain't seen nothing like you're going to see in the next 2 weeks. I should say you haven't seen or heard things like you're going to hear and see in the next 2 weeks. So be prepared. Don't be fooled. Don't believe what you're hearing. The other big headline today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in Israel, hoping to meet with Prime Minister Netanyahu about the war and lack of aid to civilians, as well as a potential ceasefire. President Biden travels to New Hampshire today, where he'll talk about lowering prescription drug costs. On Wall Street, markets opened in the red again today after closing lower yesterday. 3M and Philip Morris among the companies that delivered better than expected earnings or solid earnings this morning. Shares of those companies are moving in the opposite direction of the markets. So if you own 3M or Philip Morris, you're off to a good start. If you drive a Honda, the company is recalling more than 700,000 vehicles over concerns that fuel pumps can crack and leak fuel. 720,000+ vehicles. The recall includes certain Accords, Civics, and CR-Vs from 2023 through 25. You can keep up with all of the news on Newsmax, newsmax.com, and make sure you're streaming on Newsmax Plus for the most complete lineup of all of your favorite shows, hosts, and guests. That's newsmaxplus.com. Greg Kelly Reports, Carl Higbie on Frontline, Bianca De La Garza on Newsline, The Chris Salcedo Show, Wake Up America, The Record with Greta Van Susteren, and much more, with analysis from people like Mark Halpern, Governor Mike Huckabee, Senator Santorum, retired General Blaine Holt, Judge Napolitano, and many, many others. I'm Tony Marino. Thank you, as always, for listening to the NEWSMAX Daily. See you right back here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Eat some nuts and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the NEWSMAX app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Hey, it's Jerry Callahan from The Callahan Show. You can listen to us every day. We react to the latest news, politics, sports, and all the madness in the world. I'll give you my opinion with a little edge, a little attitude. I'm an unapologetic right-winger, trapped behind enemy lines in deep blue Boston, so I'm used to taking on the mainstream media mob. You can hear us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can listen every day at newsmax.com/listen.
Information. Truth is freedom.